day. Yeah, no, I'm just stopping now. The There are over 1,000 people just gathered out here at this vigil right now, and yeah, it was pretty crazy seeing everyone doing the rosary and saying their prayers and just coming together as a community.
And now I gave before you came on, just a brief overview, but you can probably give more detail about the family. From what I understand, it was a large blended family.
Blended?
Blended, that in terms that there was a mother and a stepfather.
Yeah, look, that was one of the. So, as everyone knows, there were sadly 4 young children that passed away. 3 of them from the same family. One of them was from a different family, and she had step parents, and I on the night 2 nights ago, Saturday night, I did have the unfortunate pleasure of sort of bringing them water and tissues and all that, but that was to the mother and the stepfather, and and then when the real biological father did turn up, he was hysterical, to say the least. He was absolutely devastated. But it's definitely rocked the community. I mean, if I were to flip my camera and if the quality was a bit better, you'd see even now, an hour after the event, just people still just waiting there, saying their prayers, saying the rosary, and just showing some respect.
The mother, Jiga, is that how you say it?
I'm not sure, actually.
But yeah, she's been incredibly strong, and also I would say merciful and forgiving, because obviously the drunk driver, obviously we have to put alleged in. There's been a lot of online comments saying hang him, death penalty. She said I'm not going to hate him because that's not who we are. And I mentioned that she's a member of the local Maronite Christian Lebanese community, which for those of you who might not understand, that's basically the Lebanese Catholic Church.
Yes, to put it simply.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty, I would say, most extremely Christian attitude that you can have. And obviously that's how obviously she's focusing on just grieving for her 3 children, and like losing, like, because this is the thing about like losing like children that young, like, you know, you raise them like they're your life growing up, and it's the same for like brothers and sisters, is like grow up with them and then like all of a sudden they're not there, and like it's just they've been your life so long, and like then they're gone. They're just like all the future that you saw there, it's all gone.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking stuff, and I mean, this is a lot of people wonder why I'm censored with my language often. It's for exact situations like this. You know, don't freaking drink and drive. It's as simple as that. And if you don't know how to calculate what it is to stay under the limit, just play it safe. Don't have a drink, or call an Uber. Pick up the car tomorrow. You know, it's not worth it. You know. I am glad that this has really come to the attention of the public, and this is really sort of, everyone is in agreement, you know, something must be done, and you know, we need to be more careful with how we handle this. But the fact of the matter is, you know, let's not make any decisions on public policy while in the heat of the moment. This is a time for healing and a time to reflect on the sanctity of life and how precious all life is, and how we need to respect the fact that we're only on this earth for a very short time, and we need to make the most of each day.
Certainly, I would say our mortality has been on display as humans all throughout this year. Obviously, there was the bushfires which ravaged your home state, New South Wales. 34 deaths at last count. A lot of those emergency services, firefighters, including those who'd come over from America. Then we've got the coronavirus, and then obviously in our sort of political circle, the suicide of Wilson Gavin. I'm not sure if you'd ever spoken with him or met him, but that sort of brought home to a lot of us that how toxic politics is, and sort of like there just seems to be all these reminders just how precious life is, and that how we're just too consumed in the political bubble all the time to basically take stock.
No, you're absolutely right, Tim. And it's important to remember that politics is not meant to be this thing that you worship. And I mean, one thing I've been reflecting on these last few days is the importance, just as it once was, the importance of community. I mean, what you're seeing right now from the Maronite community, my community, is that this is what Australia used to be like. We used to congregate around churches. We used to come together. This used to be our social safety net, both economically and in times of crisis like this. And this is what it practically looks like. And if I was to make a side note, this might antagonize some people, but I believe that if this was 3 people from perhaps an Anglo background, I don't think it would have gotten as much traction for whatever reason. I do believe that most of that is because the Lebanese community is very connected. It's a very small world, and that is what white Australia has actually lost, and it's unfortunate because that's just mateship. That's how we sort of take care of each other and raise a good society and lovely kids.
Yeah, I'd agree with you with that, and it's been on display. I think that the last couple of years, just how, and oh, sorry, there's a bit of noise coming in there. That
sorry, I'm mute.
But that the Australian Lebanese community in Sydney, and should emphasise both Christian and Muslim, they, as you said, they are acting as a community like white Australians used to do. We've become so detached from neighbours, communities, and I think that's why there has been this massive focus because on this tragedy, because, and this seems, and you also, it's pleasing that the media's picked this up, the fact that there has been this community, the community has responded the best way possible, and I think that's why the media is running with it, basically because this is how, you know, we should cope with tragedy. And as I mentioned before, the toxicity of the bushfires during the summer, there was just no account for. It took a while for the political rage to basically subside and people to start opening their hearts and their wallets to donate. Joel, still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Tim. And I think that's the best message we can all sort of take from this. Sorry, I know you can't probably see much of that, but I'm a few hundred people.
Yeah,
yeah, in front.
It's just sort of lights there, but oh yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
And I just want to go back to your point about not jumping to make public policy in the light of this tragedy, because let's not forget that's what the New South Wales government did after the one-punch kill of Thomas Kelly, basically shut down the Sydney nightlife, and now those lockout laws have been slowly repealed because it crippled the economy, and it didn't really help the Kelly family at all in the end. I don't want to go, because that's a whole other touchy topic as well. But some people have been saying that if you have any drop of alcohol in your blood when you're driving, that should be illegal. But that would be an even... that would create more problems than it would solve. I mean, let's not remember, this guy was 3 times the legal limit. Allegedly, you probably need more harsher penalties for drink driving, and also he's been charged with manslaughter, not dangerous driving causing death or culpable driving.
No, you're absolutely right, Tim. And you know what? I was thinking the exact same thing on the Thomas Kelly thing. In fact, when I say don't make public policy based on emotions like it is now, that is exactly the example I'm referring to. Thomas Kelly was the brother of a friend from school, Stuart Kelly, who later killed himself. Now, when Thomas Kelly passed away, it was at a very convenient time for a lot of property developers in the area, and it allowed them to actually shut down the nightlife and with the lockout laws, and that made it a lot easier for them to actually get approval from council. I know politics, and I know property because that's where I work, and that's something that I'm very weary of, and that's why I say now is not the time for elegant discussions on public policy. Now is the time for grieving, before they hijack all of this energy from this community, my community, to use it to make money, essentially. Like, who knows what's coming around the corner. An example I used in a post today was maybe they're going to use this to justify what one of the Australian politicians just signed internationally, being the 30 kilometers an hour in suburban areas.
I've heard about that as well, which is, I mean, this had nothing to do with speeding in a suburban area. That's right. He was doing about 110.
Yeah, I mean, because he was already breaking the law and speeding, so a law won't fix that. And he was also drinking, which was 3 times over the limit, allegedly. And so how's that going to fix it?
Because I've lived and worked all across Victoria, and I've noticed in the areas where I've lived and worked, the speed limit slowly reduce. Main Street was once 60, then it's 40. The back road, it used to be 90, now it's 80. You see them dropping, and it seems that local councils and governments are just all too happy to oblige in reducing them lower and lower. And the thing is that when you're forced to go slow, that can actually lead to road rage, because not everyone thinks that speed limit is reasonable, and so it can actually have a worse effect on that. And 30 kilometers, and then that's lower than school zones. I mean, 40 kilometers you can understand during 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. and 2:30 to 4 o'clock, that obviously there's the lollipop ladies, or man, I should say, or lollipop person, that... yeah, you need to slow down around there because there's a lot of children around and they have poor motor skills. But 40 has been working well. Lowering it to 30, I mean, that's just an idea from a bureaucrat, or of course a public health advocate who of course love to restrict our behaviour.
No, you're absolutely right, Tim. And the problem with this is a lot of these, and this goes to the heart. I don't want to, this is not a time to score cheap political points. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
So this is not a time to score cheap political points, but this just goes to the same concept that a lot of Greens policies, a lot of leftist policies, and conservative policies, they're made in the heat of the moment, based on emotion, and it's not the time to do that. It's not time to do something that feels good. It's about thinking through, having a quality debate, not shutting down discussion, exploring the consequences either way, either right or wrong, and then going forward as a community and a democracy, respectfully.
Well, that's why I wanted to have you on tonight, because I knew you were close with the family, albeit indirectly, and as we were saying before. before about tragedies being exploited, there's always no end of people wanting to get outraged on someone else's behalf. And so I thought it'd be good for you and our audience to tell us, like, what's the actual feeling in the community? What do they want in this time of grief and obviously healing?
Well, this is one of the rare occasions where we can follow the lead of the prime people that were sort of at the center of this, the parents. Of course, other than the kids, but the parents. And I think they've set a perfect example. They had the father who said, now's the time to mourn, now's the time to sort of recognize the lives that these kids lived. He said he's numb to what happened, incredibly sad to what happened, but he loves his kids very much, and he knows they'll be in a good place. And he doesn't feel, he in a way forgives the perpetrator. And similarly with the wife, which I was even more impressed by, because I saw her grieving that night. She was absolutely distraught, and she said basically the exact same thing. She recognizes that he did something wrong. She's not ready to see him yet, but she's willing to let the law must be just and true and fair, and it must be done right. We can't act vindictively, because it's not going to bring the kids back ultimately. And if you were there last night, Tim, when I was meant to be going to a party last night, a 22nd party, and I saw the events unfolding, and when I arrived, it was just before most of the family got there, so I unfortunately got to see all of the reactions from the family as they came in. And look, the atmosphere, and you can easily see how this becomes the madness of crowds in a way. The atmosphere was palpably homicidal, and what could end up happening was, if the guy was still out there, if he was in the street, believe me, unless the police used their guns, they would not have stopped the mob from pulling him apart, basically. But I'm really glad that the parents have sort of taken the lead on this. They've found the strength to confront a camera and to actually say, no, this is about forgiveness, appreciation for the ones we still have, forgiveness, and the law being just. And for the record, the police officers last night, I mean, they said that this is one of the most harrowing times they'd ever seen. But no, look, the police officers were very respectful last night, on Saturday night rather, and they were very good at what they did to the best of their ability, considering the situation. And I have a lot of respect for them and how they handled it very caringly, but firmly, as they should.
Well, we should give a thanks to them as well, because they have helped, from what you just said, keep the community together. I'll let you go now, Joel. As you know, I'm not religious myself, but I certainly think our modern world would benefit a lot more from, as we've seen on display, the Christian virtue of forgiveness, and just basically just not letting ourselves be consumed by hate.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think, we all need a dose of that, gratitude and forgiveness, and often forgetting as well. But that's another thing.
Well, take care, Joel, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks for your time, Tim. Cheers.
As you can see, it got a bit emotional there, because there's nothing, obviously anyone who dies before it's considered their time. I mean, a lot of the world was grieving last week for Kobe Bryant. He was 41 and his young daughter was 13. The fact that, well, the daughter she was young, but Kobe Bryant, he had still many years of public service to give. And so when a young death is so unexpected, somebody's got many more years to live, it's just such a tragedy that they won't get to live the rest of their lives. We won't get to experience them, and that was really nice of Joel to give that report. So that brings us to the end of the Monday night Wilmsfront